Let's say China.
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 China. China. China. China.
There are next door neighbors, and you can actually see Russia from land here in Alaska.
You go over to China.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Trump statement, tweeting out insults to Angela Merkel. What's he doing?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host.
Yes. Hello, and welcome. I am James Andrews, and you are listening to So This Happened, the only news you need if you are so bad at your job that the company you work for has to shut down because of your incompetence. It is Monday, the 22nd of January, 2018, and today, in India, it is literally raining shit. A chunk of ice that weighed between 22 and 26 pounds fell on the Fazilpur Badi village with a big thud, apparently. It startled residents. Now, when they looked at this big ball of ice, which you can look at the photographs of, and it's brown ice, if I'm being honest. There's a little bit of white in there, but mainly it's brown ice. Now, they suspect that this came from an aeroplane that was flying over the village and it was accidentally dumped onto them. Now, aviation authorities have said that usually the toilets are emptied when the plane lands, but every once in a while, a leak can occur mid-air. That's apparently what happened here. Now, according to reports, some villagers thought that maybe it was an extraterrestrial object. Unfortunately, it wasn't. It was a very, very terrestrial object. And unfortunately, some of the villagers, believing it to be an extraterrestrial meteorite or whatnot, took some samples home with them. And I can only say, you know the phrase, don't eat the yellow snow? I think don't eat the brown ice also applies here. And apparently some people were storing pieces of the poo meteorite in their fridges. I hope that after they found out that it was actually poo, not, space rocks, they disposed of it and cleaned out their fridges, because that's pretty disgusting. And now, heading over to my side of the pond, the defiant UKIP, the United Kingdom Independence Party leader, Henry Bolton, takes a page out of Donald Trump's book when he said today that he aims to drain the swamp. That is, and if you're not from England, you'll just have to take my word for it. We just don't say things like that. We don't say, oh, it's time to drain the swamp. It sounds ridiculous, and actually Mr. Bolton himself is rather ridiculous. Now, to give you a brief history on Henry Bolton, he is the new UKIP leader, although probably not for very long. There have been many calls for him to quit after his girlfriend, or should I say now ex-girlfriend, who was a 25-year-old, made some rather disparaging comments about Meghan Markle over Twitter and in some text messages. He apparently dumped her, which is probably a good thing, because if you look at photographs of the two of them side by side, it kind of looks like a daddy-daughter thing rather than a, boyfriend-girlfriend thing. Anyway, the UKIP party passed a vote of no confidence in Mr. Bolton, and coming out, again sounding just like Donald Trump, he said, well, they are just not fit for purpose, and what they say is complete and utter fabricated nonsense, and I will not step down as leader, even though they say I shouldn't be the leader. I'm going to play you just a little bit of his speech. He's really boring, so I'm not going to play a huge amount of it. But picture Donald Trump, okay, so throw an American accent on this and slightly worse grammar. And this is a speech that Donald Trump could be giving a few months from now. See what you think.
Ladies and gentlemen, yesterday the UKIP National Executive Committee decided to initiate and embark upon a constitutional course to remove me as leader of the party. I did advise at yesterday's meeting, I advised the NEC not to expose the party to the financial and political cost of that course of action, and that includes the political cost of possibly yet another leadership contest. I urged the NEC to focus instead upon the unity and cohesion of the party and on the need to concentrate on such matters as the local government election campaign and the necessity of mobilising our efforts to ensure that the government delivers a truly independent United Kingdom when we leave the European Union. Independence in all areas of governance and administration. I shall respect the next steps in the constitutional process and will therefore not be resigning as party leader. I shall repeat, I will not be resigning as party leader. Instead, during the next 4 weeks, I shall be calling for the coordination and mobilisation of all Leave campaigns to ensure that the government delivers full independence from the European Union in all areas of government and administration. And I shall be calling for the party itself to mobilise in order to support that effort. This is the most pressing matter facing our nation, and I am determined not to allow the NEC to distract the party away from participating forcefully in the independence debate. Now, without reflecting at all on its individual members,
Okay,
the NEC has presently...
he's boring, it's boring, but my point is, Donald Trump probably listened to that speech today, wrote it down and said, that's good, I'm going to use that, that is good. This Congress is not fit for purpose. I like it. I'm going to write that right down. I might be off base, but I don't think so, right? Anyway, enough of that. It's boring. And it appears that the 60-hour government shutdown is over. At least temporarily. The Senate and the Congress have come to an agreement which will keep the government open to at least mid-February. So that's good news, I suppose. But if this has shown us anything, it has shown us just how out of touch all the politicians are to what the American people actually want. It seemed that everybody was throwing a lot of blame around. Now, ultimately, and I suppose I would have to say, the blame always goes to the top. When a ship sinks, the captain, he's the one that takes the blame, right? It's his fault. So ultimately, Donald Trump is probably to blame for this, and I think it was perfect that it happened on his 1-year anniversary as well. Look at all the things I've done. It's brilliant. I've shut the fucking government down. How's that for an accomplishment? Brilliant, isn't it? But it wasn't just Donald Trump throwing a lot of blame around. Everybody else was as well. Chuck Schumer today on the Senate floor had this to say.
You never know who to deal with when it comes to the Republicans. The Republican leaders told me to work out a deal with the White House. The White House said work it out with Republican leaders on the Hill. Separately, President Trump turned away from not one, but 2 bipartisan compromises. Each would have averted this shutdown. Each would have led to a deal on the budget and health care and disaster aid and things like opioids and veterans and pensions and on immigration. My recent offer to the president was a generous one. I put his signature campaign issue on the table in exchange for DACA, and still, he turned away. President Trump's unwillingness to compromise caused the Trump shutdown and brought us to this moment. The facts are well known. Now I wish to update the Senate on where things stand after this weekend.
So there's Chuck, very decisively blaming the president, which is probably where the blame does in fact belong. But what did this very short shutdown show us? A number of things. The Democrats have very little leverage in the government. They don't control a single branch of the government, and they could not force the Republicans to come to a deal on the DREAM Act, the DACA Act. It also shows that not quite enough Democrats have the stomach for a very long fight, which is why this agreement has been reached today to keep the government open. It doesn't really give either party what they want, but it's certainly the Republicans get a little bit more out of this. This was particularly true when Lindsey Graham and Jeff Flake said that they would just vote to keep the government open because that was much more important. And perhaps what it also shows is that it's more important to the American people, arguably, to keep the government open rather than have this very long, drawn-out fight on immigration. Now, the Democrats did get a win in the fact that they've preserved their ability to do this all over again after February 8th, which is when the deadline is up again, this sort of temporary deadline. You sort of get the feeling that we're just going to be having temporary 30-day deadlines for the next 4 years, but we'll see what happens. And the DACA battle is going to be very prominent in politics for a very long time, certainly up until February 8th, but even after that, it's going to be one of the big issues. It also appears that Donald Trump was a complete non-player in these negotiations whatsoever. You heard Chuck Schumer there saying Donald Trump just said, talk to the Senate. Talk to those guys, sort it out with them. I don't have time for that. I'm busy, as you can clearly see from the photographs I published. Did you see those? The photographs Donald Trump put up there saying he was working hard, and it was him in the Oval Office, and it was sort of this propaganda photo saying that, look, the government's shut down, but the Commander-in-Chief, he's working really hard. So he was sat there at the Oval Office, and he had a white Make America Great Again hat on, which looked fucking ridiculous with a suit. Listen, if you wear a baseball hat with a suit, take it off right now. Honestly, it is the stupidest looking thing I've ever seen. So don't do it. It's an absolute faux pas. It's unforgivable in my mind. Don't wear a baseball hat with a suit. Ridiculous. Anyway, back to the photograph. There's Donald Trump looking ridiculous with the baseball hat and the suit. And he's on the phone and he's got this look on his face like, I'm fucking working hard. Unfortunately, he's sitting at this really big desk and there is no paper anywhere on the... he's saying I'm working hard, but he's just got this big empty desk. It's sort of like the whole Midwest right there in front of him, just empty. He's going, yeah, I'm working hard and, well, I'm on the phone, as you can see. I'm, psychic hotline, finding out what's in my future. But one thing about this shutdown, which is absolutely certain, if after March the 5th, 700,000 dreamers get deported, as Donald Trump has promised, the blame will lie solely with the big men. I don't think there's any way anybody could put the blame on anybody but Donald Trump for that. If 700,000 people are deported because Trump rescinds the DACA program, well, he's the one to blame, isn't it? He said many times, I love the dreamers. We're all dreamers, man. Love dreaming, man. The dreamers are great. If they fucking dream somewhere else. You know what I mean? If they dream back home, brilliant. Love them. Dream over there, my friends. Don't fucking dream in this country. Don't do it. And after his whole shithole comments last week, the whole world is going to say, yeah, you wanted them out, Donald. You got them out. This is on you, big man. This is all you. But the big question is, will the government shut down again after February 8th? Now, the only reason it's staying open right now is that the Democrats and the Republicans came to an agreement to say that, okay, we'll open up the government again, but we have to continue the DACA conversation. We have to keep talking about that, and if we haven't come to an agreement on it by February 8th, we're going to shut it all fucking down again. So, is there an agreement to be made there? And that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Because you have on one side the Republicans saying, no, the Democrats just want to let every single rapist and murderer into this country. They'll come flocking in. It's going to be a disaster. That's not true. And the Democrats are saying the Republicans just want to kick everybody out of the country that wasn't born here. They're fucked up. But the thing is, that's not really true either. The truth is sort of in the middle. And surely it's a politician's job to sort of look at all the facts and say, okay, we're not going to make everybody happy in a country with this many people. But what we have to do is find a solution that makes the most people happy. And that's what we want. That's all we're asking for. But unfortunately, it's so partisan right now. Whether that will happen, it's very hard to say. And where does the blame lie for that? Well, I'm going to come out and say it lies squarely at the foot of Donald Trump. He has been sending out so many tweets recently which have been, well, essentially inflaming this debate, talking about how the Democrats are bad, evil, they want to kill the military, they want to let everybody flood into the borders. That surely is not the president's job. The president is supposed to say, okay, I'm a Republican president, yes, but I'm also the president of every single person in this country. Therefore, I need to find the middle ground, which will make the most people happy. Will he do that? Will he fuck? Anyway, that's the end of the show for today. Thank you so very much. We can continue the conversation on Twitter at SoThisHappened, or on Facebook if you're an older gentleman or lady, or if you're young and you just like Facebook, if you exist. Anyway, don't forget to subscribe and like the podcast. You can visit us on our webpage at www.sothisHappenedshow.com. And if you want to contribute to the show to keep us up and running, you can do that on our Patreon page, which you can reach at the aforementioned website. Anyway, listen, have a great night, and we will do this again on Wednesday. Bye!